Welcome to the Boldest You podcast. I'm your host, Carrie, and I'm thrilled to bring you real conversations with bold women and men. In this podcast, we dive deep into their stories, exploring what drives their courage, shapes their vision, and fuels their desire to leave a lasting impact. These are honest, vulnerable, and inspiring moments that celebrate what it means to be bold. Let's discover their legacies together. Alex Colkitt is a keynote speaker, workshop facilitator, and a board-certified health and wellness coach. She is an advocate for intentional living, and she teaches people how to navigate change, embrace uncertainty, and build lasting resilience. Her work is centered on three transformative ideas: ownership, agency, and resilience. She believes that while we can't always control our circumstances, we can take ownership of our response, exercise agency over our choices, and develop the resilience to adapt and grow through life's challenges. Drawing from her own journey of rewriting the success script, Alex equips audiences with practical strategies to break free from limiting expectations, trust themselves more deeply, and create meaningful lives on their own terms. Her message is simple but powerful. Life will change, challenges are inevitable, and each of us has the capacity to navigate everything thrown our way with courage, confidence, and purpose. I'm excited to dive deeper with Alex today. She has personally been my wellness coach for the last 2 years, and this conversation today digs in deeper about Alex's journey. I do want to provide a trigger warning, as Alex does bring up suicide. If that is a sensitive topic for you, I encourage you to skip the beginning and jump deeper into Alex's story. Let's get into it. Hello, Alex. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
What is up, Carrie? I'm so excited to be here. I woke up so energized knowing that I feel like this conversation is going to be so rich. So I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, I feel like it's all of our coaching sessions just like expanded, and I get to be the one to interview
1,000%.
you this time.
I know. I'm super excited. Roles reversed. I'm here for it.
Exactly. It's fun. I'm not the one in the hot seat this time.
That's true. That's very true.
I'm gonna make it not too hot. It'll be good. But
Yeah, I'm
all
excited.
right, well, Alex, kick us off by telling us about a time that you've had to be bold.
Yeah, I feel like I am the embodiment of this word, just how I've lived my life over the past 6 years. I started my career in New York in advertising, and I was climbing the corporate ladder, checking all the boxes, doing all the things, following the script that my parents had showed me around success. And by all intents and purposes, I was crushing it. I had a 6-figure salary. I was living in Greenwich Village with my boyfriend. I worked at a really cool startup. I had a great title. I was bopping around New York City like it was my playground, like truly living this dream life. And I was absolutely miserable inside. And it led to a point of like complete burnout, complete overwhelm. And it's so funny because now looking back at this, I can say, wow, that was so courageous, so bold of you. But in that moment of feeling so low, it felt like if I didn't make a change, like that was not, I was not going to survive that.
Mm-hmm.
And from that moment when I said, okay, something has to change, I have to break up with my boyfriend. I have to move out of New York City. I have to find a new career that's more meaningful because this is not the life I want to be living. I had all the things, all of the success anybody could ever imagine. And I do not take that experience for granted. And it was also just such a rude awakening that I had been driven, like literally driving my life forward based on other people's idea of what was expected of me, of like what success looked like, what brought happiness. And so that was, I had a rock bottom moment in New York where I was dealing with suicidal ideation. I came very close to stepping in front of a bus one morning on my way to work, and that rocketed me out of that headspace and being like, whoa, I don't want to not be here. I just can't keep living the way I'm currently living. And that required me to like take a hard look in the mirror and say what needs to change. And so I started on my quest of figuring out what happiness like really does mean for me, because it's not universal. Everybody has different preferences and desires and goals, and why are we all on this one track? So I started to really question everything I had been taught about success, and that is scary. That is really courageous, because you are now taking steps away from what everybody else is doing. And that feels very scary. That feels very overwhelming. That feels like you're alienating yourself. It feels like, oh my God, I just invested so much time in this career path, in this relationship, in this living in this city. And I can't let all of that go. Like, that's crazy, right? It like really requires a lot of strength. And I think we all have that. We all have the courage. We all have the strength and the ability. And anyway, I know I'm on a very long tangent right now, but I think making the decision to truly blow up my entire life was the biggest moment of being bold. And that kind of shot me into this whole different trajectory, which is so much more aligned. And now working as a health coach, living in San Diego, walked away from an engagement that wasn't serving me, right? Like truly embodying this idea of being bold, because I truly believe that when we are bold and take risks, fortune favors us and the universe is conspiring in our favor. So it wants to help us get to where we truly in our hearts want to be. So I live by
Wow.
the embodiment of bold, if you
You
will.
absolutely do. And I first just want to say thanks for the vulnerability that you were sharing with us, that really hard moment in your life. I think those are the moments that we tend to shy away from talking about and admitting to other people, but often are the moments that a lot of people can relate to, whether it's they've had similar thoughts or maybe have just been in a similar state where the path that they put themselves on doesn't actually feel right at some point.
Yeah.
And as you were sharing, I was just thinking about how all the things that you described, when at first you were talking about like living in New York, immediately I was like, the dream, that sounds amazing. And all of like everything you were sharing, like you said on paper, like sounds so successful. And like you said, you were. It wasn't that you weren't successful in the things that you were
Mhm.
pursuing, but because they weren't aligned with you, like internally you were really battling. And I just think about how I'm sure everyone in your life probably didn't even realize it. I shouldn't assume that, but everyone else around you probably was giving you this act like she's doing so great. She's got the partner,
Mhm.
she's got the job, she lives in New York. Like you're everyone else's standard of what they should be, when
Mhm.
internally you're just battling that so much. And I know I have gone through that, like not to maybe that
Mhm.
extreme, but to that level of like on the outside I have it all figured out and I have the career and I'm doing the things, and then internally like this battle of I actually don't know anything of like what's supposed to come next, and I don't feel like that's sometimes the right thing. So just that, thank you again for the vulnerability, because again I think so many people are really going to relate to that feeling. And obviously I want to talk about what you do now, but I want to start kind of in that New York Alex, because I think there's so much goodness in the sense of like, or there's so much boldness in that. So
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
had that really like life altering moment. What came next? Like, what did it look like to actually completely blow up your life?
Yeah. So, what is truly wild to me is that that happened in October. And I didn't actually, well, I was in therapy, I was doing that type of work, but I I went right back to how I was
Mhm.
operating. And I just put my head down and I was like, okay, just day by day, like take things day by day, like see how you're feeling. And it wasn't until the pandemic, I was sitting
Mm.
in my apartment March 14th, 2020, and the news is on. My um, ex boyfriend, now my boyfriend at the time, I just looked at him and I was like, I don't want to be with you anymore. And I was just like, this pending pandemic doom. We had no idea what it was at the time. New York was the epicenter of it all when it started in the
Hmm.
United States. So I was like anxious from that. I had just gone through this crazy mental health crisis. I'm so miserable. And I'm like, I can't be locked in my 350 square foot apartment with this person that I don't even like and don't want to be around. So it was like
Mm.
the pandemic kind of forced me into like making decisions around what I was doing. And like at that time, I was truly not conscious whatsoever of what I had been doing, right? Like I still was in the beginning stages of figuring out, like, oh, I had been on this path and it's not working, you know? So yeah,
Hmm.
it was
It's,
truly,
yeah, it's sticking out to me that you were like, I just went back to the same old, and how many times we do that and don't even realize it. Like you have this big moment, again, maybe
yeah.
it's not even to that extreme, but then all of a sudden you just go back because that's what we're ingrained. Like that's what's ingrained in us to do. And you
Hmm.
also said the phrase like day by day, and I like internally flinched because I was like, oh, I have said that phrase. I can't even count the number of times when I'm in a stressful like time of life. Like it's like, oh, just day by day. And that's my way of telling other people, like,
Hmm.
I've got it. It's fine. Don't worry about me. I'm taking it day by day. When
Hmm.
internally, like, I don't feel that way. And like when you said it, I had like a reaction where I was like, oh, like you being able to vocalize that you were doing that, I
Hmm.
realized I also do that. Like, I
Hmm.
use that phrase to protect myself from other people's expectations or judgments that I maybe don't have it all together or I don't know what's coming next. Like, I'll figure it out as we go and I've got it and I'm chill. Um, and just how you have that date memorized, like, that was the moment where, like, yeah, your life, like, actually changed. Like, you can see a completely different trajectory from that
Hmm.
day. Like, that's
Hmm.
amazing. And I'm sure it was really, really hard to go through that.
Oh my God. I can still so clearly picture myself sitting on my couch in my New York apartment, just sobbing harder than I've ever cried in my life. And it sticks with me because I've
Mhm.
never felt like pain in that way and like deep sadness. And it was
Yeah.
because, yes, I was deciding to like make a lot of changes, but it really was like an ego death and also like this grief of this life I thought I was living.
Mhm.
And that is a wild experience because you're like, I know I'm not who I'm meant to be right now. I know these things that I've chosen are not right for me. And also, this is how I've been operating for the last 8 years.
Yep.
So to walk away from all of that, especially all at once, because it really was, I broke up with my boyfriend. I moved out of New York quite literally like 2 months later, broke my lease, left the city, and then moved back in with my parents and started exploring other career opportunities because I knew the path that I was on with advertising was not viable long term and I didn't care about it enough. So, yeah, it was that deep, deep, deep sadness of just grieving this life I had just spent so much time building. And then also the trajectory of what I thought that life was going to be for me.
Yes.
So,
And it is a
and
grieving process. Like I
totally.
think as I turned 30 this year, and that doesn't, I've had moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 30, that's crazy. And then there's moments, but I think as I look back, like there are moments where you have to grieve a different version of yourself that maybe you expected, or
Hmm.
like you said, these moments in your life where you can have equal appreciation for, even if they were really hard because they led to where you are. Like there's so many moments that I look at and say, I wouldn't want that to change, even though it was one of the
Hmm.
hardest things that I've experienced. And I can grieve that moment because it meant that this thing that I had worked for or the expectation I set for myself wasn't being met. And that's not something that's just easy to move past. Like when it's so personal to yourself, we have to allow ourselves to grieve those moments and to be okay with it. Can stem something beautiful can stem from that moment, but it can be equally beautiful and one of the worst hardest things that you're going to go through at the same time.
Yeah, 1000%. And I was not able to look back on that moment and think, wow, best thing that ever happened to me for like 2 years. Like it took me a
Mhm.
long time to get my feet back on the ground and feel like I had like purpose and direction. And at that time, I definitely did not have it all figured out by any means, but I felt like I was starting to figure it out. And I don't think we ever give ourselves enough credit to feel our feelings and not judge ourselves
Mhm.
for how long it takes to move through things.
Mhm.
And I think we are so used to pushing emotions away, saying everything's fine. It's like, do you know the meme where the dog is literally sitting in the house that's on fire
Correct.
and
Yep.
it's
Yep.
he's saying, I'm fine, everything's fine?
Oh yeah, that's like my slogan, honestly.
Literally, that was how I lived my life when I was from the time I was born up until I left New York, right? Like I was like, I'm good, I'm fine, don't need to ask for help, I'm good, everything's great,
Mhm.
and I'm dying inside, truly.
Mhm.
Um, so anyway, I think if we just allow ourselves to feel the sadness, feel the grief, and move through it, we're getting closer to who we are meant to be, and it also helps us like navigate emotions in a way that doesn't make them like stick around forever, right? Like we're
Yeah.
so afraid to not be happy. And it's like
Mm.
the sadness is so important because then it makes the happy moments and the alignment and the steps you take feel so much better.
Absolutely. It's like the movie Inside Out. Like you can't just
Yeah.
have joy, even though that's what we all want, but
Mhm.
all of the other emotions are just as equally as important and make you a
Mhm.
whole person. Um, and just the judgment that we put on ourselves for the emotions that we feel. I am guilty of that time and time
Mhm.
again of, oh, I feel this way. I shouldn't feel that way. How do I get back to status quo or how do I get back to
Mhm.
happiness and putting on that front? And just thinking, okay, so now you're moved in with your parents.
Mhm.
The Alex of that versus the Alex of today. Like walk us through what it took, like that personal journey, all the
Yeah.
exploration I'm sure that had to come from that.
Yeah. Yeah. So at that time, it's COVID, right? Like it's early stages of COVID. We don't know what is going on. And when I came home from New York after moving, I broke my lease, moved all of my stuff out of the city, put whatever I had left in a storage unit close to my parents' house. And I got back to their house after unloading the U-Haul. And my dad came out into the garage. I was like sterilizing everything, right? Like hand sanitizer was everywhere. My mom had 1,000 Lysol wipe containers. Like truly crazy. So I'm wiping all my stuff down before it can come into the house. And my dad walks outside and he hugs me and I start crying. And he was like, Alec, what really is going to make you happy? Like, we don't have
Mm,
any expectations. Like, you don't need to do what you think is going to make me happy. Like, what's going to make you happy? And it was in that moment where I was just like, I don't have a good answer. I know it doesn't make me
mhm.
happy. I know all the things that I just worked for doesn't really bring me much joy, but I'm not really
Yeah.
sure what will bring me joy or bring me any sense of like happiness and fulfillment. And so I was like, Dad, I genuinely have no idea. And that's a scary thing to admit. And also kind of cool that I get to see who I actually am now and explore and
Mhm.
reinvent myself in this way. So me from that version of me to today, it was like getting used to being alone and spending time with myself and actually enjoying that time. It was the first time I really explored school in the sense of like I started taking courses of like psychology and
Mm.
behavioral science, things I had always been interested in, but never really allowed myself to explore because I was a marketing major and I just needed that major because I didn't decide what my major was until a year into college. And my parents were like, we're not going to help pay for anything more than 4 years. So I was like, I guess I'll just pick this random subject, because I can graduate on
Yep.
time, versus like really thinking, what am I interested in,
Mhm.
Um, so I, during COVID, finally allowed myself to explore. Like, I love personal growth. I've always been interested in personal growth in my own life. And I was a competitive dancer growing up. So movement played a huge role in my life from the time I was 2 years old. And I felt like going through all the mental health stuff, I now really personally started to see health more holistically. So I dove into
Mm.
positive psychology. I dove into taking courses on happiness. I was reading every book you could possibly imagine. And then one day, my friend Marina randomly texted me, and she was going through a very similar like career crisis. And she was like, I'm going to invest in a career coach. Like, would you want me to send you her information? I had never thought about coaching before. I had never even knew it was something people invested in besides like a soccer coach or something, right? Like, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So when Marina reached out to me, that was also another pivotal point of being like, okay, let me invest in a coach. And it was expensive. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God. And I mean, for me at the time, it felt really expensive because I had never invested in any big personal development thing. So it was $800 for 6 weeks. And
Wow.
mind you, at the time, I was making my New York salary, but I also was like, $800 for personal growth is crazy, like it just like,
Mm-hmm.
right? It didn't make sense in my head at the time because I had never really, besides books or like these like
Yep.
$50 online courses, right? Like I never really invested in anything like this. So, anyway, go through her course. And that is what opened my eyes, one, to the coaching space, and then
Mm-hmm.
two, to entrepreneurship, because Serena, the career coach, she was building her own business in the coaching space. And so that was really cool and intriguing to me. And then through the whole process, I discovered health coaching, had a bunch of networking or connection calls with health coaches. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. It's combining my desire to want to do meaningful work. It helped me redefine how I see my life and how I see success for my career in life. And I used to really define that by how much money I could make and like how high I could be on that ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And now my life will be successful because positively impacted other people's lives. And I said, I will measure success by the number of people I can touch. And to me,
Mm.
that drives every decision I make now when it comes to this new path and being a health and wellness coach now, because I was like, if I define success by that, the career path I take must support that. And so all these jobs that I used to think I would be interested in or was like trying to squeeze myself into just very quickly fell off the list because I was like, I know I want to positively impact people. I know I care about health and wellness. I know I was negatively impacted by a toxic work environment over and over again and like these crazy expectations. And so it was the perfect storm of me being like health coaching in the corporate space to help other young professionals support themselves through burnout and understanding who they truly are. I was like, perfect. And that took a long time to get to. That did not happen overnight, that clarity around how I want to support people. But the career coaching that I went through gave me a different perspective around what a career could look like. And it gave me a different perspective around the type of work I could be doing. And that really kicked off my journey into pursuing like actual paid opportunities as a coach, pursuing my credentialing and certification, and
Mm-hmm.
going through additional programs. And at that time, I was laser focused on just investing in myself. And I think it was helpful because we couldn't go outside, right? Like I think the timing of all of that was really helpful too, because I was doing all of this behind the scenes because I was still working in my marketing job, but I didn't have to be in the office anymore. So I didn't have to be in New York. So I was at my parents' beach
Mm-hmm.
house. And every moment of my spare time, I spent exploring what this transition could look like. And then one
Mm.
day, my younger sister, she was at my parents' house for a little bit during COVID too. And she had gotten laid off and was like, I don't want to find another corporate job. I'm going to be a personal trainer and pursue entrepreneurship. And I was like, well, if Jenna can do it, I can do it. And so that kicked off the
Mm.
entrepreneurship journey too.
Wow, there are so many golden nuggets in all of that. I don't even know where to start, so I'll try. But the first thing that I'm hearing is curiosity. And
Yeah.
I think curiosity in today's world is a skill. I think that's really hard. I know I have struggled with it because it seems that we have all the answers, or you should have all the answers because
Hmm.
you have all these tools and you have the books that you're reading, and there's just so much information where I think at times I can find myself not being curious because I'm like, well, this is what we do and this is the information, and I don't have to stop and really think about those things. And so for you to have that time to really be curious, or even to just open the door to curiosity when your friend asked, do you want the information? Like you could have said no and been like,
Hmm.
I'm good. I'll figure it out. But
Hmm.
instead you were like, yeah, let me be curious about that. And as you went through that experience and that coaching, to ask questions and to discover something you had no idea about. And
Hmm.
how many times we stifle our curiosity to make it seem like we do know or that we have it together. So that was like the first thing that I was thinking of. But I feel like every episode I've done in this podcast, this comes up in some way or another. But this idea of community and how important that is when we're going through these moments, because
Hmm.
the moment with your dad, like vocalizing to you that you have their support, even if it
Hmm.
doesn't look like what you thought it was supposed to. Your
Hmm.
sister, like in a roundabout way, like her pursuing those things for herself, like inspired you. Your friend
Hmm.
even asking you, hey, I know you're going through something. Like, do you want this contact information? That
Hmm.
career coach, I'm sure, was part of your community. And I just think of how we I shouldn't generalize, but I know my default in a lot of those moments is to internalize and to isolate and to
Hmm.
try to
Hmm.
figure it out for myself. When how many times would things have gone smoother, or would I not feel like the anxieties or the nervousness if I turned to my community instead and said, I'm struggling with this. Do you have tools or resources? Do you know people? Have you gone through something similar?
Hmm.
What was your experience like? Just to have that connection to other people and not feel so isolated. And I think some of that kind of goes hand in hand with the curiosity. Like, because we don't reach out to people, like that's a sign that we're not curious. Like we're really stuck in our own heads and stuck on what we think.
Hmm.
And sometimes getting out of our head is the best thing for us because our heads are crazy busy, and there's it's like a workday that never ends. But when you can get outside of that, your perspective can just change so much. And it sounds like that was a big part of your journey.
If I did not get curious and explore things, I would be in the exact same position I was because I only know what I know. And if we wait to know the answers, we will never take action. So the action is what creates more clarity around what you want to do. And I kind of alluded to that. It wasn't like overnight, I'm a health coach, I want to help people with mental health and burnout. Like that took time. That took me coaching people in different capacities on different subject matters and being like, it's not really the exercise and movement piece that lights me up. It's really helping people find their purpose or own what their heart is telling them to do. And it took
Mhm.
me trying a bunch of things. I tell all my clients this in coaching sessions. You could come up with the most amazing plan, but it doesn't matter until you put it into action. And when you put things into action, you just get feedback, good, bad, ugly, in between. You're going to get some feedback, and it's going to help you become clearer on what you actually want and what is going to support you moving forward. Like now, when
Mhm.
I first made this transition, speaking wasn't even on my radar as a direction I wanted to go. And it was through going through the different steps and different explorations of the types of coaching that I want to do that led to a speaking opportunity when I lived in Philadelphia to be on a panel and talk about mental health. And I walked away from that being like, how can I do more of that? Right.
Mm.
So if I hadn't been a coach and I hadn't been networking as a coach in that space, the opportunity to speak might not have come up. And then I wouldn't even know if I wanted to be a speaker. And now it's what I want my whole business to be about, still as a
Mhm.
coach, but the speaking is what truly lights me up. So I wouldn't know that if I didn't take messy action. And whether
Mm.
the networking led to something or nothing, it doesn't matter because you get to practice and get feedback. And feedback is the best thing for us. And it doesn't have to be perfect action. That's perfect doesn't exist. Perfect is made up because what's perfect to you is different than what's perfect to me. So
Hmm.
therefore it's subjective and holds no weight. Um, so taking the action is what's going to help you figure out and gain clarity around what you truly want. And that's where like the
Mm.
self-trust piece comes in. Because you have to trust yourself in order to take the risk. So there's things you can do to build that trust. Um, so yeah,
I think that I will be adding messy action to my office in some way or form after
you've
this
got to.
conversation. My little event mind is already like, okay, how do I make this into an event for students? How do we encourage messy action? Because that's not a term we ever think of, especially in corporate America. And I mean, I'm sure anywhere,
Mm-mm.
but really in corporate America, right? Like it's, you have the plan, you have sat and you've thought through every possible
Mhm.
solution, and you are thinking, okay, if A equals B, then C is going to happen. And messy action is the counteract to that. Like it's
Mhm.
A and B might equal C, or it might mean the alphabet just gets completely construed. Like it
Yep.
means that something could go wrong, but we have to take steps forward. And it doesn't mean that I mean, none of the messy action that you took was on a whim, right? Like it was calculated and you thought through it and you made
Mhm.
decisions for with purpose. And so that messy action doesn't mean that we just throw all caution to the wind, but it does mean that at some point we have to take steps and we can't let ourselves sit back and watch
Mhm.
the world just go by. Like we have to go forward. And
Mhm.
like I said, that may become part of my new life motto as a recovering perfectionist and still having flavors of that. But
Yeah.
you mentioning that journey, I think is a great way to transition into talking about what coaching is, because
Yeah.
I think coaching, as someone who has now gone through it with you, like guys kind of get a bad rap, if I'm gonna say, or a bad rep, because
Mhm.
when I first like had a friend tell me like, hey, I meet with Alex, she's wonderful, I was like, I don't like, I go to therapy like once a month. I don't need coaching. Like, what are you like, this is crazy. I I don't know. And then I finally like, she convinced me and I was like, fine, I'll schedule an appointment. And literally after our first meeting, Alex, I was like, oh, she's wonderful. And I think I have met with you almost weekly for the last 2 years. So
Yes.
you really changed my perspective on what this whole holistic health coaching is. And it's funny you said that, the food and the nutrition and the movement isn't the stuff that lights you up. And it's funny, like that's what I started meeting with you about. Where like I remember we talked about vegetables and we talked about
Mhm.
protein and how I needed all of that. But so many of our conversations, that was like the side effect of it. It wasn't
Mhm.
like the main things that we got at were about self trust, self compassion,
Mhm.
habits, and how do you build systems for yourself, and how do you just
Mhm.
like even the flexibility within those systems, how do you get the feedback. And it wasn't a once a week Alex is going to be like, well, Carrie, did you eat your vegetables or not, and like judge you for it. It was looking at it from much a more holistic standpoint. So I'd love for you just to talk through like, what does coaching look like when you meet with a client, because I'm sure people on this call maybe have never met with a coach or even know what coaching is. So I'd love just more like the educational side, like what is coaching, what does that look like?
Yeah. So I am specifically a board certified health coach. So we focus, what I am trained in is in the neuroscience of behavior change. And that's a fancy way of saying helping you build habits. So
Mm.
we come, any client wanting to work on any goal that they think will improve the quality of their life can get something out of the health coaching process. We use a resource called the Wheel of Health, which is so powerful because oftentimes we compartmentalize our health. And when we think we need to be healthier, mind immediately goes diet, exercise. But we are whole human beings. We are multifaceted. We have so many different things that contribute or take away from the quality of our well-being, right? Like if you're stressed out at work, it makes it much harder to make healthy eating decisions. When you're not making healthy eating decisions, you have lower energy. That drives you not to want to work out. When you're not moving your body, mentally you feel low, and then you struggle emotionally, right? Then you're more reactive. Now you are causing fights with your partner, right? It's all connected. So thinking
Mhm.
about health in such a separate, compartmentalized way does us a disservice. And I think that was my biggest lesson when I was living in New York. I started working out, going to cycling classes because it relieved my stress. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that is something. Let me hold on to that, you know?
Mhm.
And so health coaching really is about taking you through this change process. And a lot of the work that we do, Carrie, like you said, is it's really mindset work, right? Altering your perspective of old beliefs, like challenging things that you've been operating under and saying, if this isn't best for me or working for me anymore, what might be more supportive? And the whole process really helps you shift your perspective and build confidence and self trust, right? We'll make action plans. And when you say you're going to do something to me, you're more likely to then go do it because you want to be a person of your word. So
Mhm.
you go, you action on the plan, you come back, you tell me I did it. I say, hell yeah, we celebrate you, right? We acknowledge the wins, we acknowledge the progress that you're making, no matter how big or how small. And that is what helps boost your self trust and confidence. And then taking those actions over and over and over and over again, even if we start with drinking more water, or even if we start with steps or something so small, those little actions compound over time. And then the next thing you know, you're on a like career transition journey, right? Next thing we know, you're tackling these massive goals. You went from not walking at all to now you're training for a marathon, right? It allows you
Mhm.
to build your confidence and gives you the courage to take bigger risks and to challenge yourself, get out of your comfort zone. And when we do that, it allows us to live more authentically and in alignment with who we are, and therefore generates more fulfillment and happiness every day. So, coaching can be
Mm.
so powerful, like you said, not for the habits you build, but more for the mindset shifts that can occur and the self trust that you build over time.
Mhm. And I think the thing that I realized through all of our sessions and doing that work is how much. No, again, I talk about how I've been in therapy, and you mentioned like therapy was a part of your mental health journey too. And a
Hmm.
lot of that is looking backwards, right? Like, okay,
Yes.
how did you get to where you are now? What are the things that, like, I think of my anxiety, like, okay, how did like, what are the things that cause that? How
Hmm.
all the build up where coaching, when I work with you, Alex, like, we're looking forward. It's like, okay, what's
Yes.
this next week? Like, what are the systems that we're putting into place? What are
Hmm.
those habits, like what are the things? And like you said, it's not that we're just completely ignoring the past. Like we always looked back and we would say, okay, what worked, what didn't, and if it didn't
Hmm.
work, why didn't it work? And there was never the judgment of, well, Carrie, you should have planned your life better last week. It was, okay, life happens. Like work got really busy for you. What could we do differently this next week
Hmm.
that might make the system more effective? And
Yeah.
like you said, it was that building that trust and the compassion. Like you were the one who regularly was like, Carrie, you're not giving yourself enough credit. Like we got to think about how far you've come and how it all compiles on top of each other. And I
Hmm.
just think that again, there's so many people that we get stuck just in where we're at. And that was a big part of coaching with you, has been like getting outside of the where I'm at. And I see a meeting with you on my calendar and I'm like, oh, I like get to like have a moment of or 30 minutes of like me time, it really feels like, of like talking about me and thinking about
Yeah.
life and giving it that like attention that it deserves. But we so often put all of that work on the back burner because
Hmm.
so many other things feel like they have to take priority. And so when you're working with clients, like what do you feel are like some of the biggest challenges or I guess hesitations that people have around coaching or just some of the work that you do?
Yeah. So I think the biggest, okay, preconceived notions around what coaching is, right? That's a big challenge. People come in and often think that the coach is going to do all the work for you. And I'm like, no, actually, 80% of this is happening when we're not talking to each other every single week. So that is a challenge. However, once you're in the process, I think you really get it. And like you said, the time for yourself, the introspective work that we do is so meaningful and valuable that once you recognize what you've gotten yourself into, you're on board for the work because you know the potential outcome. So that is definitely a big challenge. I can't do the work for you. I wish I could, because then I would wave my little magic wand at myself as well. And I would have everything figured out on my end, but that's just not reality. So that is something that, coming into the coaching space, you've got to be in the mindset to do the work and be dedicated to the process, because what you put into it is what you get out of it. And I promise always to show up, be dedicated, support you through anything, create a really compassionate, non-judgmental space, because I recognize on paper what we need to be doing is very simple as far as health goes, right? We all know we need to be eating more vegetables. We all know we shouldn't be sitting at our desks all day. We all know we need to go outside and touch grass. But actually doing that is way different than knowing it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also really impactful, of like recognizing you've got to be in the right headspace and dedicated to be doing the work, because it does take
Mm-hmm.
work, right? Think about how long it took you to have the habits that you currently have, right? Those didn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can't do the work for you. I wish I could. It's not how life works. And then also, I think the shifts, right? People come in, like you came in for support with nutrition, right? It's always, so I always meet people where they are. And I think not maybe a challenge, but an outcome is you always get to the end, or like through the coaching process, with so much more than you could have even imagined coming into it. So I think being open to being coached, being open to looking inward a little bit, being open to shifting your perspective and humbling yourself and saying, I don't have all the answers. Like, having a beginner's mindset will serve you in every area of your life for as long as you live, because learning and knowledge, having a growth mindset, is what will help you fully take off in life, I think. Anyway, that's a little side tangent. I could talk about that forever. Um, but yeah, I would say those are probably the biggest challenges, but not really
Mm-hmm.
challenges.
Just what people got, we gotta get out of our own heads, just
Yeah,
like
we,
we've been
yeah,
saying.
yep,
Awesome.
exactly.
Well, you mentioned you've been doing this coaching now and have built this business, which is amazing. And I know some of that came with a cross-country move. You've just, in the 2 years that I have worked with you, I feel like, I've gotten to know so much about you. And you mentioned speaker. Tell
Yeah,
us more about that. What are those aspirations? Like what, and you don't
yeah.
have to have it all figured out. We've made that clear, but I'd love to hear more just about that passion of yours and what topics you'd want to put out into the world.
Yeah, I love speaking. I think I see the breadcrumbs of it through my whole life. Like when I was younger, I was a tour guide in college, and I loved connecting with people and sharing how much I loved about UVM. I became a spin instructor. So I was on the podium with the mic on my face, like loving coaching and encouraging people in that capacity. And speaking feels like a very natural progression. And if you recall, I define success in my life now by the scale of impact I can have on people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love coaching. Coaching will always be a part of my career in some capacity. I imagine it will maybe take a smaller role as speaking takes a larger one.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing the one on one transformation is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful to witness somebody shift their mindset, change a belief they have about themselves, like, and really truly start to change their lives. And one thing that I am really good at is being the catalyst and showing you what's possible for yourself if you believe in yourself, showing you that you can make it through hard times, you have resilience, you can get to where you want to be, and sparking the courage you have in yourself. I think those are my superpowers, and they fully light up when I'm on a stage speaking in a one to many model. So for me, speaking really is being fully in alignment with who I'm meant to be. And it is the avenue in which I am meant to fulfill my true purpose, and being able to impact people from that level. It just will, like, the ripple effect of that is
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. So speaking for me, I speak about ownership, agency, and resilience. The ownership piece of not victimizing yourself and really taking ownership for where you are and the choices you have made leading up to that point. But also recognizing you have the agency to change that, make intentional choices, either in a different direction or slight tweaks along the way to get you closer to where you truly want to be and help you actually build the resilience, teach you how to build the resilience and have the courage to make those big moves, take those big risks, so that way you can truly be who you are meant to be. And when women truly step into their power, it changes the world. So
Mm,
that's where I just think I think my voice is meant to be used in that capacity because I do think it will change the world.
absolutely. 110%. I could not agree stronger with that. Um, as much as we want to change the world, that does not happen overnight, as you said. So, what
Yep.
are some of the things you have put into place for yourself to take care of yourself so that you can change the world, but not get back into that state of burnout where you maybe were however many years ago?
Yeah, this is something I take very seriously because if I'm not pouring into myself, I cannot show up for the people I care about, for my clients, for my friends and family, like in the way that I would want to show up for them. And the most important relationship you will ever have in this lifetime is the one that you have with yourself. So I
Mm.
used to not prioritize myself. I used to take myself off the to do list. I used to put everybody else in front of me. And it led me to that insane point of burnout where I almost took my life. And I will never, ever, ever take that moment for granted because I now have the opportunity to pour into myself again and use that power to support other people. So my routine looks like I am waking up usually at like 5:30 or 6 to go do a workout. I love strength training. I love Pilates. I love cycling. I'm training for a high rocks right now, which I don't know why
Oh
I
my
signed up for
gosh.
this, but we're doing it. So I've been
Okay.
running a lot more recently. So I always start my morning with some form of movement because it just gets my body flowing. It makes me feel good, gets my brain activated. And then I'll come home. I always will make myself a nutrient dense, like protein rich, high fiber breakfast. So that way I'm fueled up and ready to go for the day. I will sit down and I have I call it my mindset block. So depending on like what I'm feeling, I'll write in my journal, I'll do my gratitude practice, I'll do a meditation, something for nourishing for my soul. And then that sets me up and puts me in a great space to sit down and then serve others. So that morning time for myself is so precious and it is a non-negotiable for me.
Mm, I love that. That sounds like a wonderful morning, and I cannot
Mhm.
wait to hear more about the high rocks. I have
Uh,
seen videos of that, and wow, that is tough. So I am excited to hear more about your journey with that.
Yes. I'm a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, because I am not in the same shape that I was when I first moved to San Diego because I went through a ton of
It's
life
okay.
transitions and my routines changed. I was living in a sublet, now I have my own place. So lots of moving, lots of changing. So my routines have been a little off. So I'm not as in great shape as
It's
I
okay.
used to be. So training has been very interesting so far, but it's cool because I know what I'm capable of and it's going to be a really
Mhm.
fun goal to work towards getting my strength back and getting back to that point. And even better than where I was
Absolutely.
before. So, yeah, I'm a
Like you said,
lot nervous, but
hey, that's
it's a nice
okay.
challenge. Yeah.
It's messy action. You're just putting what you said into words. Messy
Yes,
action, and you're prioritizing yourself, and that's what matters. So, well,
totally.
Alex, we could talk hours and hours, so there will likely have to be a part two at some point. But as we near the end, you mentioned gratitude practice, and that's something you always make me do in our session. So I get to turn it on you today.
Yes.
What is something that you are grateful for?
I'm really grateful for you, Carrie. And I think
Oh,
a lot of the time clients reflect that to me and I as a coach want to reflect that back to you because without you believing in me, right? And believing in my mission and my purpose. Like, what a beautiful opportunity to be here outside of our normal coaching work. And I'm so grateful and so appreciative of that. And I think our friendship goes far beyond our coaching relationship, which I'm also insanely grateful for.
Yes, me too. It is crazy like when I tell people about coaching and I'm just like it feels weird to say coach because we've had so just many life conversations in those moments.
Hmm.
And I for absolutely see you as a friend now and I'm like, how do I get to San Diego to come like have coffee and like go for a walk on the beach with you? So I'll put that out into the universe. But
We
yeah,
will make that
just
happen.
yes, but very much the same. Just grateful for you as well. So that's very sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
You always make me say a win. So it's your turn. What's a win, Alex?
A win is that I signed up. So, one of my intentions, once I moved into my own apartment in February of this year, I said I wanted to do more intentional networking with other female founders in the San Diego area. And
Cool.
I have really crazy social anxiety, which surprises a lot of people.
I feel that.
And the amount of like tightness in my chest, I get super sweaty, so nervous going
Mm-hmm.
into social, especially like networking environments. So I 9 out of 10 times I talk myself out of it. But I was like, all right, Alex, you got to take bold action. Like, buy the ticket, go to the event, do the thing, right?
Hmm.
Just rip the band aid off. And so Wednesday, I went to a female founders dinner club, and it was
Cool.
beautiful because it was super intimate and it was not like any other networking event I had ever gone to. And it was really intentional conversations. And I was like, wow, the universe answered my prayers. It was
Absolutely.
exactly, yeah. So that is like, that was really cool. That was a cool experience.
Mm. Wow, that sounds amazing. And goes back to community, right? Who knows where that
Yeah,
community can take you in the future.
totally. Hmm.
Okay, a few on the lighthearted side. Beverage of choice. What are you, if you're going for a walk, you're hanging with friends, what are you ordering?
Okay, if I am out and about, I love a kombucha. And
Oh,
San
sure.
Diego has so many kombucha brands out here. I'm in heaven. And then when I'm honestly, Carrie, I'm looking at my water bottle right now. I always have my
Yep.
water bottle with me. But when I'm at home, I will drink Olipop. I'm an addict, and the,
Ooh.
the grape flavor Olipop is my absolute favorite. So when I'm treating
Oh,
myself to something that's not water or coffee, I'm going for an Olipop.
fair. I think I've only had the orange cream Olipop flavor. I haven't ventured outside of that, but you are a water person. I like
Yes.
look at my water. I'm like, oh, it's been a minute. Maybe I should drink some water.
Yep.
Um, what is your favorite way to unwind after a long day? You need some brain space. How are you unwinding?
I am such an extrovert at heart, and my favorite way to unwind is to go for a walk and chat with one of my friends. And
Mhm.
if somebody doesn't pick up their phone while I'm on the walk, I'll leave a 20-minute voice note. So
Love
I
that.
joke, yes. So I'm like, okay, I'll text whoever I'm texting. I'll be like, podcast episode incoming. So, like, when I'm on hot girl walks, if you're getting a text from me, I'm probably on a hot girl walk. If you're getting
Amazing.
a long voice note from me, I'm probably on a walk. So that's truly my favorite because it's the bilateral stimulation, the movement, helping clear the mind, and then also the social connection to make me feel
Hmm.
less alone. And one thing I promised myself to do was invest more in relationships because I don't have to do everything by myself. And it is such
Yes,
a beautiful gift to be able to show up for your friends too, right? How good does it feel when your friend needs something from you, right? It's not a bother,
absolutely.
it's not a problem. So yeah, the social connection is huge.
I love that. Well, feel free anytime. Send me a 20-minute voice memo.
Oh,
I will
you
listen
got
to
it.
it because I love that. I relate so much to that where I'm like, oh, who do I like want to catch up with? Or just on a walk. That's like the goal.
Hmm.
Okay, well then we have two last questions. The first one being, if you could eavesdrop on your friends talking about you, what would you want to hear them saying?
I would want them to say that I'm the funniest person they've ever met. Like, that is My, I think that's part of, I don't know. I've never told anybody this. When I was younger, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. Like that is like what
Amazing.
what I wanted to do. And my love language is roasting people. Like if the harder I roast you, the more I love you. So I would want them to tell me that I am the funniest person they've ever met. And that because I
Okay.
love entertaining. I love bringing joy and happiness to people's faces. So if I could do that by making you laugh, it's like I'm so fulfilled by that.
Okay, well, I will be waiting for the Alex stand-up special
Oh,
and
you got
count
it.
me in immediately.
All right. Well, when we record live, you get front row tickets.
Perfect. Great. Awesome. Keep that in the back of our minds.
We'll
All
also
right, well then,
manifest that one.
great. We're just doing all sorts of manifesting today, all the things out in the
Yeah.
universe. As we wrap up, let share more about what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. You've shared a little bit about this, but I would love to hear
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Yeah. So no matter what I'm doing, whether that's coaching, whether that's speaking, whether it's something I don't even know about yet, I want people to walk away from my work and just whatever I'm doing with a greater sense of self trust and also a greater sense of courage and confidence in their and recognizing their own power and strength. Um, I want them to be empowered to live boldly the way I've lived. And I'm not sugarcoating it. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've had a lot of very hard times, but I always make it out on the other side. And I'm not special. I'm not unique in any way. If I can do it, other people can do it. And like I was saying earlier, if enough people, especially women, if women step into their power, it will create a ripple effect that extends so far beyond any speech I could give, any book I could write, any business I could run. And that is truly the legacy I want to leave behind.
Mm, I love that. That's very impactful. I'll also be waiting for the book that you're gonna write.
Yeah.
So just so I'm signing up for it all.
Yes.
Um, but that is amazing, and you're doing all the things to work towards that, and I think people will see that, and that's just very inspiring. So if people want to learn more about you, follow you because you are a great follow on Instagram. You post your hot girl walks and
Thank
your
you.
thoughts. It's wonderful. Or want to talk to you more about speaking, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, alexcolkitt.com. You can follow me on Instagram, just alex.colkitt. And if you want to get in touch about speaking, you can email me at hello@alexcolkitt.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your time today, Alex, and just sharing more about yourself and coaching and just opening our eyes to a whole new area of life and inspiring us all. So thanks for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, Carrie, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yes, everyone, stay tuned. There will be a part two at some point because we're going to have to hear more about Alex's High Rocks journey and all of the other amazing things that she is doing. So
Yes,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Yes, thank you, Alex, and thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll catch you next month.